Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Julie Ambani, commonly known as Jules, and on this channel we like to talk about books, literature, development, and a sprinkle of other things here and there. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, kindly subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and let's go. So today, as you've seen in the title, I'm going to be doing a quick book review of a book that I just recently finished. This is Finding Me by Viola Davis. I loved this book. Okay, let me start from the beginning because my opinion might be biased. I'm a huge Viola Davis fan, and I think she's mostly known for her role in How to Get Away with Murder as Annalise Keating. I also have seen her in The Help. For those of you who know The Help as the book, there's a movie adaptation of it and she's in it. I also really loved that. And most recently, she's released a movie this year, just last month if I'm not wrong, called The Woman King. So basically that's Viola for you. I have not watched too many of her things now that I think about it, but I think she's one person I enjoy her social media because she's always posting encouraging and uplifting things. And also I think my admiration for Viola came when I started listening to her, especially on YouTube. There's this show on YouTube called The Hollywood Roundtable, if I'm not wrong, that brings actors, directors, just from different genres and stuff, even producers, and they sit them down so that they can have like a candid conversation. And one thing I really learned from this Hollywood Roundtable is that we see these actors and actresses as celebrities, but once you sit down and hear what goes on for them to get to where they are, you kind of appreciate it much more. Like for us, we see these actors and actresses when they've succeeded, like we see their success, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Because when I was watching those videos, like a lot of the time people would be talking about how they used to sleep hungry, how they were broke, how they were being kicked out before they got that one role that changed their lives. And I think from those interviews I came to have deep admiration for a number of actors and actresses, one of them being Viola Davis. Viola wrote this book called Finding Me. It's essentially a journey to her finding herself. I really enjoyed reading this book just for learning the process of what made her who she is. So she takes us back to when she was a child, where she grew up in a lot of poverty. Like they would live in terrible housing where there was rats running around kind of biting them. They would be hungry. It wasn't like good. It wasn't a good situation. And I wrote some notes here while I was reading. One thing to know about this book before I even continue, there's a lot of trigger warnings. There's trigger warnings on sexual abuse. There's trigger warnings on domestic violence. There's trigger warnings on racism. I don't know if that counts as a trigger warning, but it's a lot. Yeah, I think those are the three main trigger warnings. I thought like it will be good to just put it out there. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to all these things happening, and all these trigger warnings come from her own life. So Viola grew up with her siblings and parents. Her parents were very dysfunctional at some point. There was a lot of domestic abuse. The dad would really batter the mom to the point where they were just scared that he would one day kill the mom. The dad was also a heavy drinker, which contributed to him having these moments of rage where he gets violent on all of them. The sisters, I think Viola has 3 sisters, if I remember correctly, and 1 brother. And a lot of the times when they were left in the care of the brother, he would abuse them. And not just him, but other men within would take advantage of these young girls. And, there was a lot of sexual abuse, which was a bit triggering. But yeah, that's the kind of environment that she grew up in. She developed a really tight bond with her sisters, and especially her one sister, Diane. I really hope I'm not messing that up. They were very, very close, and she was the one, I think, who was kind of had this ambitious spirit to them. And I think when Viola was really young, this sister told her something along the lines that, do you want to continue living like this forever? If you don't, you really need to identify what you want to be or what you want to do and work very hard towards achieving that. Essentially, she just tells us the story of her experience from, I would say, the equivalent of what we call primary school, how people, like, they didn't even have water, so she would be smelling in school all the time, and people never wanted to be with her or stay near her, how the boys in the school will torment her every day after class and chase her, trying to beat her. Honestly, it was a lot. But as much as it was a lot, I understand that this is not a unique situation. Like, a lot of people do go through that. It goes back to what I'm saying, like, we see and admire her as a celebrity, but her journey to getting there was actually a lot. One other thing that is really shown here that Viola struggles with for a lot of part as she grows up into discovering who she is, I will term it as inferiority complex. Like, she just didn't feel like she deserved things or like she could be doing things, because who is she? She's just a minority, forgotten, others, those we call others. So she really struggled with this a lot of the time, such that even when good things were happening to her, she would always feel like, no, she doesn't deserve this. And she really had a lot of battles with her inner child. You know how we're always told to make sure you heal your inner child, because otherwise you'll always have battles. She literally had a lot of that. Something I found really interesting about this book, something that it's not necessarily like relevant to me because I'm not an actor and I don't ever think I've ever dreamt about that, is that Viola takes the time to actually tell us what it means to be an actor, like what the process is like, how many auditions you'll have to go through, how many no's you'll have to get back. And at that time you're living, like for her, she was living in New York, which is very expensive. Even getting the rent to pay where she was living was quite something. And mind you, it's not that she was living somewhere fabulous, she was just living in some sketchy kind of place. But like, she tells you the journey of what it means to be an actor who is looking for jobs. And then she also tells you, like, once you get the job, how the pay is divided. I found that to be so interesting, because she said, like, if you get your job, a certain amount is going to your agent, a certain amount is going to the lawyers, a certain amount is going to your publisher. Like, for the amount you receive, or remember taxes, the amount that actually comes to your pocket is very, very little. For example, this is what, like, part of what she says. If an actor is blessed and fortunate enough to see $1 million, deduct taxes, 10% for your agent, 10% to your manager if you have one, 2 to 5% to a lawyer, at least $3,000 to $15,000 a month to a publicist. And you might ask yourself, why do you need a lawyer? The lawyer knows how much money is on the table and legally makes sure that everything has the right jargon in your contract. And most importantly, the lawyers have inside track on what other actors on your level are getting paid. She continues to like break it down into how the expenses are divided. And I realized, oh my goodness, it's like just like any other job. You know, I had this twisted thought that maybe, you know, they get $1 million and put it into their account. Don't ask me why I was thinking like that, but like, she, in many different instances, she breaks down how much she was earning and how much she actually will keep. She also explains a bit about black tax. Most of us, I'm sure, are familiar with black tax, where if you're the successful one and somehow all your family members start depending on you, you have to get a certain amount and give to them. And she said, like, the more she got famous or successful, the more people will be coming to her with very bold requests, like, buy me a car, buy me a house. Meanwhile, like, when she was just starting out life, it will be something like, kindly send me $30. Then it moved to send me $300. Then the request just became bigger and bolder, and she says she had to come to terms and learn how to distinguish her life from the life of maybe her siblings and parents and stuff like that, because otherwise you'll never move forward. So that was also interesting to see. Like, this book was essentially just her journey to self-discovery. And one interesting thing, one part she said, like, one thing that changed her life is she was in an organized trip to Africa, specifically in Gambia, West Africa, and that whole experience just literally changed her life. And I kind of got what she meant, because sometimes you're going through things in life and just a change of scene into somewhere maybe you're not used to, a whole different culture, it does change your life. There I can agree. So that was also really interesting to see. Viola also really puts it out there that there's no formula to success. For every one actor that you see has become successful, there are many, many other actors who have also done the same, put in the work, put in the hours required, gone for millions of auditions, but it's just like luck. Honestly, success in life, it's like hard work and luck. You really need that luck, because that luck will determine whether you'll make it or not. Lastly, another thing that stood out for me was how she really put into perspective how racism, even in the entertainment industry, is quite blatant, and how it affects your chances at success. For example, she really showed how she tried to put into perspective how Black actors and white actors are perceived. When a white actor just acts a role, they get immediate praise and stuff, but like for a Black actor, especially when she was starting out, she had to work almost twice as hard just to get to where she is right now. She had to, like, for a long time she was just getting some shady roles, like disgruntled wife. Like, it wasn't ever a nice normal role, if I can say that. Like, Black people were always stereotyped into specific roles that were not necessarily good, and given that she's actually, like, her skin is darker, it will make it more difficult for her. So it's very interesting to see that these are still some of the problems that still we hear about in today's entertainment scene. Admittedly, it's gotten a bit better, but it's still some of the problems that exist, and we just hope that they get better. But it's disheartening to hear that for you, just because of your color, you have to work twice as hard or more to be on an equal plane with someone else just because of your race. All in all, I think I will summarize this book as Viola's journey to loving herself, finding who she is, what she stands for, healing herself, healing from the wounds that were inflicted on her, healing and accepting. Actually, honestly, I found it so interesting that Viola ended up forgiving, like, her father, her family, because sometimes family can really do some most painful things to you. And by the end of the book, it shows how Viola's father, like, did a turnaround and has become this really good person. And it just shows how much her journey has been for her to be in this place right now where they're in very good terms. Healing is never easy. Finding who you are is never easy. I'm still in that journey of trying to, like, know who I am, trying to forgive myself, trying to love myself through things that you will consider unlovable. And that is essentially what she talks about in this book. I gave this book a 5-star because, first of all, it's her own story, but it's written very, very well. It doesn't feel heavy, though it does tackle a bit of heavy things, but the fact that it's an inside look to her life really made this much more interesting to me. I like how brutally honest she was in this book. There's nothing she hid. She laid it all out there. And for me, it just makes her even more human. Like, a lot of the times we do tend to see celebrities as I don't know, we tend to feel maybe they're not human, maybe they don't have the same experiences or the same feelings, but they do. And as I said before starting this book, I already really loved Viola, but now I feel like my love for her has really grown. This was a good book, and really shout out to Viola for this. Honestly, I just wish her the best as she continues from where she was when this book started, the journey she's been through to where she is right now. Honestly, kudos. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on this book. I enjoyed it. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend it, but whether or not you enjoy it is another story, but I would recommend it. So there you have it, quick book review. This book is available in many bookshops in Kenya. It's available at Nuria the Honest Store. If you use my code as usual, you get 7% discount on it if you order from the website. And that's a wrap for today's video. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.